Hello everyone, good morning. Today we are going to start class 9, chapter 3, Atoms and Molecules, part 2. Now we will start the third page of this chapter. What is an atom? Have you ever observed a mason building walls? What we will see? That the mason is building walls with the help of bricks. All the houses, they are made up of bricks. In the same way, all matter is made up of atoms. So what we are seeing, that these walls make up a room, and then a collection of room forms a building. So what is the building block of this huge building? So bricks are the building blocks of the huge building. Now we have about the matter. So an atom is the building block of matter. An atom is the smallest particle of an element that can take part in a chemical reaction. So if you are asked the definition of what is an atom, you may write an atom is the smallest particle of an element that can take part in a chemical reaction. Atoms of most of the elements are very reactive and they do not exist in free state. That means in single form, single atoms. They exist in combination with the atoms of the same element or with the atoms of another element. And there are as many kind of atoms as the number of elements. So in class 10 you will study about the elements, that more or less there are 117 or 18 elements known at this present time, and so we can say that there are 117 or 18 types of, or you can say kinds of atoms. Now next question is how big are atoms? How big are atoms? Atoms are very, very small. They are smaller than anything that we can imagine or compare. More than millions of atoms, when stacked together, would make a layer barely as thick as the thin sheet of paper. Now the question is, how big are atoms? Atoms are very small. They are smaller than anything that we can imagine or compare with. More than millions of atoms when stacked would make a layer of barely as thick as a thin sheet of paper. Atoms are very, very small. Let us understand in this way with an example, that around 35 crore copper atoms, if they are arranged end to end in a line, would cover a distance of about 1 centimeter. Try to understand. 35 crore copper atoms, if they are arranged end to end in a line, would make up a distance of about just 1 centimeter. Just 1 centimeter. So our scientists have found out a method, or you can say a unit to measure the size of an atom, and the size of an atom is indicated by its radius, which we call it as atomic radius. An atomic radius is measured in nanometer. Here you can see written nanometer. This is nanometer. Its symbol is small n, small m. And 1 nanometer is equal to 10 to the power minus 9 meter, or you can say in this way, 1 meter is equal to 10 to the power 9 nanometer. Now let us see the relative size of certain atoms. For example, atom of hydrogen is of the size of radius 10 to the power minus 10 meter. It is meter, it is written in meter. If we will talk about in nanometer, then it is just 0.037 nanometer. When we talk about the molecule of water, it is 10 to the power minus 9 meter. 10 to the power minus 9 meter. Molecule of hemoglobin, 10 to the power minus 8 meter. Grain of sand, 10 to the power minus 4 meter. Size of an ant, 10 to the power minus 2 meter. Now you try to understand in this way, that ant is 10 to the power minus 2 meter, and see the size of hydrogen. See the size of an ant, you can see here 10 to the power minus 2 meter. Size of an atom of hydrogen, 10 to the power minus 10 meter. You are seeing ant, you have seen an ant, how small is it? Then its size is 10 to the power minus 2 meter. Now I understand the size of an atom of hydrogen, 10 to the power minus 10 meter, how small it is. We are unable to see that. We will not be able to see. Let us come back to the top part. Now in this part we will see. We might think that if atoms are so insignificant in size, why should we care about them? Good question has been asked here, that if atoms are so insignificant in size, so small that we cannot see them with our naked eye, why should we care about them? This is because our entire world is made up of atoms. All non-living things are made up of atoms. As we have studied in biology, all living things are made up of cells. Cell is the building block of living things body. In the same way, atom is the building block of non-living thing. We may not be able to see them, but they are there, constantly affecting whatever we do. Through modern techniques, we can now produce magnified images of surfaces of elements showing atoms. Here in this diagram below, it has been shown an image of the surface of silicon. Now I will show you the diagram of an image of the surface of silicon in colorful diagram. See this diagram, colorful one. This is same. So atoms are so small that we cannot see them even the most powerful optical microscope. So our scientists have found out a new mechanism, a new microscope, which we call them scanning tunneling microscope, STM. Scanning, SCANNING, scanning tunneling, TUNNELLING, tunneling microscope. In short, we call them a STM. And then we are able to see an atom. The scanning tunneling microscope enables us to see atoms, though indirectly. Now with the help of this scanning tunneling microscope, see in this diagram, the individual atom can be seen as bumps on the surface of a solid by using a STM. And this diagram, in this picture, what you are seeing above, it is the image of the surface of a solid substance called gallium arsenide, made up of gallium atoms and arsenic atoms. Now let us see the next part of the chapter. What are the modern day symbol of atoms of different elements? Dalton was the first scientist to use the symbols of element in a very significant sense. When he used symbol for an element, he also meant a definite quantity of that element, that is one atom of that element. And what he had proposed, what Dalton had given. See, this is what Dalton had proposed. That for hydrogen he had told a circle, inside that a dot. For carbon, a circle and that circle to be darkened. Oxygen, only one circle. Phosphorus, one circle with 3 lines, as you can see in the diagram. Sulfur with 4 lines, or you can say 2 cross lines intersecting one another, crossing one another inside a circle. For iron, circle and capital I. For copper, circle and capital C. For lead, circle and capital L. For silver, circle and capital S. For gold, circle, capital G, and then see the how it is shown here in that way. For platina, circle and P, and for mercury, circle and dot attached to the inside part of the circle. But this method was not accepted by the contemporary scientists for few years, till scientists were able to find the new method of giving symbol of the elements. This was used. So what a symbol is? A symbol is a thing like a sketch or a letter which represents or stands for something else. When we say symbols of element, we say here symbols of atoms of the element, because elements are made up of atoms. So this was the symbol of some elements as given by Dalton. These Dalton symbols are only of historical importance. They are no more used. They are not used at all. And then it was Johannes Jacob Berzelius. See, his name is given in short here. Full name is not given. In this part you can see here only name is written Berzelius. But his full name was Johannes Jacob Berzelius, or in short we say J.J. Berzelius of Sweden. He suggested that the symbols of elements be made from 1 or 2 letters of the name of the elements. And this idea led to the modern symbol of the elements which are used nowadays. Next page. See here, in the beginning, the name of the elements were derived from the name of the place where they were found for the first time. For example, the name of copper was taken from Cyprus, Cyprus. Some names were taken from the specific colors. For example, gold was taken from the English word meaning yellow. Nowadays, IUPSC, that means International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, approves names of the elements. Many of the symbols are the first 1 or 2 letters of the element's name in English, or the first letter of a symbol is always written as a capital letter and the second letter is always written as a small letter. So after J.J. Berzelius gave us the idea, the symbol of the elements changed. For example, the symbol of hydrogen is capital H. The symbol of aluminium is capital A and small l, not capital L and capital A. No, it is not that the symbol of aluminium is capital A symbols and capital L also. Similarly, first letter of the name and a letter appearing later in the name, that means afterwards. For example, chlorine, C and L, capital C, small l. Zinc, capital Z, small n. Other symbols have been taken from the name of elements in Latin, German or Greek. For example, the symbol of iron is Fe from its Latin name ferrum. Sodium is Na from the Latin name natrium. Potassium is K from the Latin name kalium. Therefore, these elements has a name and a unique chemical symbol. Now let us see the symbol of some elements. For example, aluminium, capital A, small l. Remember, first letter will be always capital and second one always will be small letter. I am not going to repeat again and again capital and small, capital and small. Aluminium Al, argon Ar, barium Ba, boron B, bromine Br, calcium Ca, carbon C, chlorine Cl, cobalt Co. See, remember, the how scientists have given the symbol that if 2 or 3 elements have got the name starting with the same alphabet, for example, you can see in this case, calcium, carbon and chlorine and cobalt one all are starting with C, then calcium they have taken the symbol as Ca, then carbon they took C, not Ca, otherwise there will be confusion that Ca carbon or Ca calcium. Similarly, chlorine C and L and cobalt Co. Copper Cu. From the Latin name cuprum. Fluorine F, gold Au from the Latin name aurum, Aurum. Hydrogen H, iodine I, iron Fe from the Latin name ferrum. Lead Pb, lead is Pb. How? From plumbum. Plumbum, Plum, Bum, plumbum is a Latin name, from that it has been taken. Magnesium Mg. Neon Ne, nitrogen N, oxygen O, potassium K from the Latin name kalium. We have already seen above. Silicon Si, silver Ag, sodium Na, sulfur S, uranium U, zinc Zn. Now we will see atomic mass. Next part. See, about these symbols, you try to learn their name and the symbol as many as you can. Slowly you will learn and you will know more about them. Don't try to memorize in a single day. If you are able to do, well and good. But slowly you try to memorize them, it will be better for you. It will make you understand chemistry in a better way. It will be very helpful in writing chemical equations, valency, symbol, formula and so on. So if you are able to learn them, well and good. Now we have atomic mass. The most remarkable concept that Dalton's atomic theory proposed was that of the atomic mass. According to him, each element had a characteristic atomic mass. The theory could explain the law of constant proportion so well that the scientists were prompted to measure the atomic mass of an atom. They tried to measure the atomic mass. The theory could explain the law of constant proportion so well that the scientists were prompted to measure the atomic masses. And we are unable to see a single atom. So how can it be possible to find out, to determine the mass of a single atom? It was a very difficult task. So how did our scientists determine the mass of individual atom? They determined it using the law of chemical combination and the compounds formed. They did it by finding the relative atomic masses using the laws of chemical combination and the compounds form. Let us take the example of a compound. For example, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is formed by the combination of carbon and oxygen. Carbon monoxide, it is also a compound of carbon and oxygen. So here in your book it is given the case of compound carbon monoxide. So we will take this one only. So carbon monoxide is formed by the carbon and oxygen. It was observed experimentally. That means our scientists performed experiments and they found out that the 3 gram of carbon combines with 4 gram of oxygen to form carbon monoxide. In other words, we can say carbon combines with 4 by 3 times its mass of oxygen. Suppose we define the atomic mass as used earlier, AMU, but according to the latest IUPAC recommendation, it is no more as AMU, it is only used as U, unified mass, as equal to the mass of carbon atom. Then we would assign carbon an atomic mass of 1 U and oxygen as 1.33 U. However, it is more convenient to have these numbers in whole number or a near to a whole number, as I have already told you earlier that when compound is formed, it is formed by the combination of atoms in a whole simple whole number ratio, not in decimal. So here we are talking about the mass. So when we talk about the mass, atomic mass, then mass of carbon will be taken as 1 U and oxygen 1.33 U, but more or less we have to take it closer to a whole number. Let us come to the next page. While searching for various atomic mass units, scientists initially took 1/16 of the mass of an atom naturally occurring oxygen as the unit, and this was considered relevant. In olden days, in ancient time, our scientists, what they did, when they were finding the mass of the various substances, various atoms, various elements, various compounds, then what they did, they took 1/16 of the mass of an atom of naturally occurring oxygen as the unit. That means they measured the mass of other elements with the help of the mass of this oxygen. And now the question is, why did they take oxygen only? Why not any other element? Because oxygen reacted with a large number of elements and formed compounds. And also when it was compared with that of the oxygen, then their atomic mass unit gave mass of the most of the element as a whole number. It was not coming in decimal or not coming in fraction. In most of the cases it came in a whole number. So our old ancient scientists, they took oxygen. However, in 1961, for a universally accepted atomic mass unit, carbon-12 isotope was chosen as the standard reference for measuring atomic masses. And the 1/12 of the mass of an atom of carbon is equal to the 1 atomic mass unit. So 1 atomic mass unit, if you are asked the definition at present, because it has been accepted in 1961, oxygen has been changed and carbon has been taken. So if you are asked now what is the definition of 1 atomic mass unit, then you will say 1 atomic mass unit is defined as exactly 1/12 the mass of an atom of carbon 12. Why we are telling carbon 12? There is a reason behind it, because carbon has got different isotopes, and carbon 12 one, you will study in the later part of the chapter about the isotopes of carbon. So carbon 12 is the most abundant one. It is found in large amount in this universe, and therefore it is told that carbon 12 is only taken. So carbon 12 isotope was chosen as the standard reference for measuring atomic masses. 1 atomic mass unit is the mass unit equal to exactly 1/12 the mass of one atom of carbon 12. The relative atomic masses of all elements have been found with respect of carbon 12. Since 1961 it has been changed, and now the mass of all the atoms has been found out by comparing it with the mass of an atom of carbon 12. Now you try to understand in this way. Now you will say how these all are possible, we are not understanding. You try to understand in this way, that imagine a fruit seller. Imagine a fruit seller without any standard weight with him. Sometime when you go to the market for buying fruits and vegetables, sometimes you see that instead of having a weight, what we call 1 kg, 1/2 kg, 500 gram, 200 gram, 50 gram one, that means instead of having the batkara, they have some stone or pebble, something like that. Or they, if you want to take large amount and they don't have the big one, 5 kg one, then what they do? They take some fruit or vegetable or something, they measure it, and again they compare with that, as you can see in the diagram below here. See what has been done. Now imagine a fruit seller selling fruits without any standard weight with him. What he will take? He will take a watermelon and says that this has a mass equal to 12 watermelon units or 12 pieces of watermelon. He will make 12 equal pieces of the watermelon and find the mass of each fruit he is selling relative to the mass of one piece of watermelon. Now he sells his fruit by relative fruit mass unit, FMU we can say. And he is selling tomato also, potato also, other things also, with the help of that watermelon only. So what he had done, he had taken a watermelon, he had cut into 12 pieces, and one piece he is taking as a standard fruit mass unit, and then with that he is measuring all other fruits and or vegetable, and he is selling them. Since I told you about, imagine a fruit seller, then he will not sell vegetable, he will sell fruits only. That is understood. Similarly, the relative atomic mass of the atom of element is defined as the average mass of an atom as compared to the 1/12th mass of carbon atom. So you can understand in this, in a simple language, that our scientists have selected carbon 12 atom as the standard atom with which they will compare all other atoms, or which they are comparing all other atoms. Now let us come to the top part of this page, this side. Here we will see atomic masses of a few elements. Hydrogen, see carbon it has taken 12 to be 12 U. Now hydrogen is 1. Nitrogen 14, oxygen 16, sodium 23, magnesium 24, sulfur 32, chlorine 35.5, calcium 40.